Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers Podcast. Once again, we are live from SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada, here at the Huxworks Safety Company booth. And I'm joined by a phenomenal human being and somebody who loves hunting, loves freedom, loves Second Amendment, and also loves suppressors, which I've talked about. It's ironic that I have the explicit tag on my podcast, not because I want to drop F-bombs all the time, but because I don't believe in censorship. So it's funny that we're recording from a suppressed booth.
Yeah, we suppress some things, not all things.
Yeah, right. So guys, without further ado, I bring Auburn Flores from, I work with him here at Huxworks, but we're going to talk about Auburn's journey within hunting because it's a fascinating story. He has a lot of rich history in the woods and the legacy of being an outdoorsman. So we're going to talk about that. So brother, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, man, thank you for having me. This is awesome. Glad you can be here and we can show off Soul Seekers as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, podcasting is so amazing, but to be able to do this here from the booth, obviously those of you who are listening, this is also video and it will be on the YouTube channel, so you can go watch this podcast as well. But to be here, to feel the energy, the buzz, this is my first SHOT Show. I've been to a few conventions. I'm like, I could live here.
Yeah, and you came at a good time. Like, obviously we're a newer brand, but to come in at the growth and expansion that you're seeing, and this year to have a new kind of home and platform to come and do this kind of stuff,
right?
It really speaks a lot of volume to us as a company and what's happening for us. I guess it's pretty cool.
I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, man.
It feels good to be like, okay, you know, this is my podcast spot for the week.
Well, good.
And just owning it. So, bro, tell us a little history about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm from Wyoming originally, Green River Rock Springs area to be exact. Grew up in Colorado a little bit. My parents divorced, so I had half time Wyoming, half things. Yeah. I mean, a lot of crazy things with my journey, from living in Hawaii, growing up playing hockey, but also balancing just kind of life with family, and always my tie, I guess, to hunting has really just been with my family, my dad and his brothers, family of 12, 8 brothers. They're all avid hunters, and all the kids that they've, produced, we all grew up together with this kind of journey of hunting, and my family's hunted in one same spot since the early 60s. So
really,
we're looking at 3 generations now, even 4 with my kids as they get older, has been hunting the same area in Wyoming, up in kind of northern Wyoming, a big piney area up in the Bridger Tetons. Bunch of my history, we're Hispanic or Mexican, and so we always call it, we have an area where the Taco Flats, and this is it.
Yeah.
Where you go. Yeah, so if you guys ever get the unique, I know some of my guys have had the unique experience of going to Taco Flats and experience the community we have there. So yeah, lot of back history, even more on that. But
dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into some of this stuff,
Sure.
But real quick, you said, yeah, I lived in Hawaii, but also hockey. Like, those two don't go together.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I'm unique, man. I grew up skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding. I've been in the snowboard industry, skate industry. Did things at Mountain Dew at one point in my life, and just had an incredible journey with stuff. Went to school at the University of Wyoming, finished and got my marketing degree. I started my own media business, started working on a marketing cooperative that I built with my business partner. And able to really help small businesses grow within the media and the social stuff. So that's always been my goal, is helping businesses, relationships, doing ministry. We did skateboard ministry for years, intern at a church in Hawaii.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I've been blessed with a lot of really cool opportunities, travel the world, doing what we love with skateboarding, and the opportunities that have come with my passions in media and everything else, and now marketing. So
it sounds like you've done a lot in a short amount of time, because you're not that old.
I'm 33. Yeah, I really, man, as much as I've done and the amount of years, I guess, that I've lived, a lot of it is compact, and it's been crazy, man. Crazy journey. I've always been open to just kind of doing it, whatever it is. Just go for it.
And
so.
What did your parents pass on any, like, hey, you can be anything you want to be type storyline to you, or?
My mom was always like, hard-working lady, went to school, finished her degree while we were me and my brother, with her in college, and single mom. met an incredible guy who then kind of raised us, and we're blessed that they were able to, be a little bit successful out of that. But we've seen from the ragged, not really having much to then growing into, hardworking stuff. And I don't know, I've always just kind of, we're all a wild child side of things,
right.
But I felt like my mom and them have disciplined me, but also gave me opportunity to travel at a very young age. I'd get sent to hockey camps all over to develop for hockey. My mom used to be really cool and send us to go do a surfing camp somewhere, and I'd get to experience things with other, people, basically getting mentorship in a lot of different ways. So I took advantage like a sponge to just accept mentorship all the time, and I think that is an incredible thing right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, mentorship. Yeah. And let's just talk about that for a second. How does anyone grow in this world without the guidance and mentorship of someone before you?
It's definitely doable. It's all due to experience, but if you can find value in other people's experience, I think then you can tailor and mold what your judgment it is of something. So, man, mentorship is key to a lot, man, for me.
Yeah. So my journey within hunting was self-taught, self-learned. It was the first thing, me choosing to be a hunter, and why it's transformed my life so much is because it was the first thing I ever chose for myself.
That's awesome.
It was, my father was a school teacher. My father was a coach. I went to the same university as my father. I played sports. I did this because it's familiar. People like to live in this comfort lane.
Oh, for sure.
But growth happens in the discomfort of experiencing new things, and experiences provide perspective, not just opinions. Be like, oh yeah, man, I don't like him. Well, why? Oh, I heard something one time about whatever, and it's like, oh, so you just have an opinion. You don't actually have firsthand knowledge, and to be able to speak specifically through a perspective on a topic, a subject, an item, like you name it.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I like hearing that. Experience and growth definitely is a valuable thing to have, and something that I never looked at, I guess, in my experience is my family, no one does skateboarding, no one does surfing, no one does hockey. Hockey was unheard of. My dad was a wrestler, an Olympic wrestler, so wrestling was always it, and it was just kind of, we had horses and all these different things. It's kind of a Western feel to what we did traditionally. And I've always just kind of been the outcast of like, I love that too. I've loved everything. Anything I could teach myself how to do it. But then I would find people that were good at it, and I would go and have them teach me something. If there's something always to be taught. So I think that's just it. It depends on, like, now that you've done self-taught yourself with hunting, I guarantee you've probably learned more from the guys who've been avid doing it, and you go and have that one experience and you're asking the questions, and they end up teaching you, leaving things that helped you develop more to what you've learned.
Well, that's why I started the podcast. Yes, it's fun to have listeners, and thank you all you guys who actually listen to the podcast and support the show and everything that we do, but I started it because I didn't have the answers. So where do I go? I go to the knowledge holders.
Yeah, the resources there.
Yes. And what better way to have dedicated one-on-one time than say, hey, can you join me and sit down for an episode of a podcast and have undivided attention?
Yeah.
Where, hey, I'm going to just hammer you with questions because I'm a sponge and I'm going to soak it all up. But this happens, and this is possible for anyone. It doesn't have to be a platform of a podcast, but to advocate for yourself. I'm a huge proponent in we have to identify what it is we want in life. We're always going to get what we want, and it just depends on how bad we want it and what we're willing to trade or risk for that desired result, right? Like, I'm really hungry, I'm going to get a cheeseburger, I'm going to get a cheeseburger,
So my grandpa always says this, that's stuck out to me, and it's funny you say it like that. I don't know why this phrase is very important. I always joke, it's a joke, but it's become serious for me. I always say, you don't eat because you're hungry, you eat so you don't get hungry. So it's all a preparation to, we just know ahead of time, because when I don't know, there's something about that phrase to me that's very unique, because I think that's just like anything, right? You can apply that to so many other things too.
Yes. Well, and we're raised, and being a public educator, I see the indoctrination of like programming of like, we want you to be able to answer this question and respond in this manner and to stay inside the lines and all this, when in reality, the best way to learn is explore the borders, explore the boundaries, and go through the experience of like, oh, now I understand why it's so important for us to do it this way, or to, act in such a manner, or gain knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So I don't believe enough human beings nowadays don't hold their own knowledge. They're quick to go to Alexa, they're quick to go to Google, Siri, rather than holding the knowledge within and passing it from generation to generation. Journaling is huge. The hunters that journal about their hunts, like, they're the ones that are really good.
Oh, I'm sure. That's actually, I wish I was better about that myself. I need to, I'm the worst at reading, I'm the worst at journaling. My lady, it's really incredible seeing her, the focus and time she takes into it, even if it's like the most random thing. But I've noticed that there's some about the retention that she's getting out of even herself and her days, and then what she's doing to kind of foreshadow her next, preparation for something else. I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's why I'm super excited to work with Jared Newman over at Hunt League, is specifically because even though it's like fantasy football for hunting concept, I viewed it, especially when I sat down and recorded a podcast with him, I viewed it as self-accountability.
Yeah.
Like, you have an app all about self-accountability and journaling.
Oh, totally. I mean, I love Jared. I'm glad you got to meet Jared, and we've experienced going hunting with him a few times. It definitely, there's a challenge to that for sure, and I love the thing he's developed for it, and it's like, man, you have the ability to, you see something, you sight things, you're able to get areas, you're able to have these references to look back on your hunt, and then even it's almost like a study platform. You can then look at habitat and everything else, but then there's always the added things that I think for me, and this is why maybe I don't journal, is like the added efforts I have to take into it, and that's probably because of some of the laziness that's part of me, but I do think there's huge value into finding a way to make time to do stuff like that, because he's created something that does help hunters grow, and it's that he's trying to find the way to make it easier for them to do that, so that's cool.
I'm going to share a quote with you that is coined by my brother, Lucas Mack. Shout out to my bro, Lucas, your stud. He said, internal reflection leads to outward correction.
Ooh, I'm going to steal that.
Yeah. Internal reflection, when we take the time to think about what we're doing. In the Bible, it says, I thought upon my ways and I turned my face towards righteousness, or something like that. It's something in the book of Proverbs. The whole idea is that we're able to make growth, whether it's hunting, whether it's professionally, whether it's a relationship, any of these aspects of life, it comes from when we stop, pause, slow down, reflect, and then that outward correction of like, okay, I've identified the issue, the problem, the what I want. I identified the want, and now go from there.
That's cool.
Yeah. And you take that, use it, I'm
going to take that. I like that. I've always, in my past, say I talk a lot and sometimes talk without thinking. So as I've gotten older, I think there's that reflectional part of reflect. Here's a good one that I used to use is reflect before you react. So like kind of intermixing that in a way that you can process, think about the things, because those who are quick to say something are usually those are kind of maybe they're not the wisest, and so working on that wisdom part is always a key factor.
Yeah,
right?
Well, he says in the Bible, be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Exactly. That's perfect. Yeah.
So you have a faith background.
I do. Yeah.
So where do you stand? What do you believe in?
Yeah, I fully believe in God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. And yeah, I grew up as, I was really born into the church, you could say. My grandpa was a pastor and very heavily kind of put that upon us and let us even just kind of develop that ourselves as we got older. I will say that's kind of where, before everything in my story, I guess, I was a crazy kid, man. Was awesome. Grew up knowing God, experiencing Him, feeling the Holy Spirit where He's touched me and He's broken me down. So I have that, I guess, connection in the sense where I understand it and I feel when it is Him. And where I choose to yield to that or not has always been the challenge I've grown up dealing with.
Totally, yeah.
But as I was probably 19, 20, we had this opportunity where my best friend, we grew up playing hockey together, skating. I've taught him hunting, all kinds of stuff. He comes from a different background, but man, we've done everything together. And we moved to Hawaii for an opportunity to intern at a church. And man, I think before I even moved to Hawaii, I took my friends. We actually went up to, we have a ranch in New Mexico up in the Roosevelt National Forest where my grandpa is from, beautiful elk country, but took these guys to the woods to just do a men's retreat to kind of go reconnect ourselves with, basically with getting God's kind of understanding of what's happening with this. And I put it in His hands, literally when they say like, put it in His hands. I went up there, went in the forest. We all divided ways to just have alone time. And like, no joke, we went in there to just pray. And I had just crazy confirmation. You know, God speaks in such different ways, doesn't just talk, and it's not like anything. It was like after this trip, we really focused on ourselves to reconnect with Him, and also through, you know, camaraderie, or we could say not just friendship, but fellowship. Yeah. And so we did that, and then after I got all these calls, I was working at IBM at the time. There's more. A lot to my story.
I love this.
Working at IBM at the time, managing some chat systems, and I ended up getting a call from my friend, like, hey, one of my buddies is running has a church over there. He's doing skate ministry stuff. They did YWAM at one point in Australia together. This is how I got into media and all these things. These guys were video dudes, and then we ended up moving out to Hawaii, but I had this confirmation where IBM gave me a bonus at the time for not missing any days. I started getting all this, like literally God was like supporting me for this ministry that I didn't even know was starting to happen. And we go out to Hawaii, and I just on a whim just said, you know what, I'm going to drop everything. We're going to go. I'm going to yield to this. And then it really was my time in Hawaii where there's something about the islands, man, too, and how people connect and people come from all over the world. It's a hub. And I feel like there's a spirit there that is continuously growing and connecting people in His kingdom over there. But man, I met some of the most incredible people within our ministry, but also at the church, and also how just God used this on the island to take kids and do ministry with skateboarding. Literally, we'd meet kids every day at 420 throughout every week, and then we just developed relationships. And then kids started, you know, through evangelism and stuff, we do all that and we'll pray and do all these things, but it was all through the accountability of us just being there every day consistently, and also just trying to be who we were consistently. And so ministry is a crazy thing, and you know that, but over time that developed, and for me that's confirmed some of the things in my faith that I finally just kind of grew in. Some of the things I've witnessed, gone to Brazil many times, gone to Honduras on crazy things, and the way God puts favor and literally comforts and saves you. And I've had some crazy stories, man. I've almost died surfing a few times. I've almost died in some crazy stories where countries shut down in Honduras, and I'm going through crazy neighborhoods, guns at us, and I could get into more details on a lot of these things, but God has just always somehow put favor. I've seen healings. I've seen the real works of the Spirit and what it can do to save people. I've also seen people come from the most destruction part of their lives of drugs and abuse, and you know, things where people are suicidal, and just God save them from different things and break chains from them, from whatever they were tied to. He's done it with me multiple times in my own testimony of even drug abuse or other things that I've dealt with personally in my testimony, and He's just saved me from tons of things. And we're all human, but we all tend to, you know, come back to something and forget. But man, just I guess the best word is just kind of knowing Him and knowing where He's at with it, and choosing it. So right now, personally, I've been making my choice back into reconnecting. Me and my lady are not married right now. We have 2 beautiful children. So working to make things, I guess, right in our lives is a big goal, as far as kind of living a righteous life with that, and allowing Him to kind of bless us in our marriage and my children's future. I really believe there's some things there that I just have to make right. But outside of that, that's where we are. And man, we love our church that we're at in Utah, and it's we're working on growing even more with that and trying to bring back some ministry. I want to do more with hunting ministry stuff.
Yes.
So there's a lot of passions I have that I want to somehow tie my ministry to it. Yeah.
I love that. Let me pivot here and talk about ministry of the woods and hunting and how that ties in with spirituality and connecting with God, because, go shout it from a mountaintop, or Jesus goes in the wilderness, and all this stuff is, he also says in the Bible, be still and know that I am God. And I feel like as a hunter, the slower we move, the more success we have. And so, but at the same time, we get to remove ourselves from the distraction and the buzz of society and put ourselves in an environment that is focused, laser focused.
Yeah.
And how does that play a role in your life?
That's actually huge. To every passion that I've named, like I can remember times sitting on a surfboard, sitting there in the waves and looking at just the beauty and his creation and in awe of what he's done. And it is the moments that we're put into where you are forced to just be in that moment, and for some reason that's when he speaks to you the most. Hunting wise, experience that every time, right? Like every time you're out and you're just either alone doing it, or when you have that moment even with friends, like there is just something we all share, whether we believe it or not, together. That speaks heavy to me. Like that for me is what I look at as that is the church. And what people think is the church is this physical.
Yeah.
No, the church sometimes is literally other things. Like, and that is where I find that to be very beneficial, in where you can reconnect and rekindle that. And sometimes they say you unplug yourself from the source with the Spirit. That's a great way to plug yourself back into that source and really tie in, get things
to renew.
Flowing. Yeah,
we
to
renew our
it,
soul.
Restore it.
Yeah. So this is a part of why I titled everything Soul Seekers. Because we're not just seeking after the souls of other people to get them involved into hunting with the mission of mentorship as conservation. We're seeking after our own soul. We're seeking after what we are not getting in our day-to-day life, and we are going to renew and nourish so that we come back home and we're better husbands, we're better fathers, we're better employees, we're better bosses, we're better friends. The list goes on, right? And it all stems from the transformative power that hunting provides. And you have to be understanding of it, internally reflect that, like, hey, I'm going to hunt and I'm going to recharge my batteries. It's not just hey, we're going dudes weekend and we're going to crush some beers and
for sure. I mean, and there's parts of that, right? The camaraderie, that obviously anything without abuse is great, and I'm not against that. But no, I am. There is a part of it that can create a different stigma, and sometimes that can lead to the distraction that we get caught up in, right? So there is a challenge, even at those environments still. But something that I think was important there, kind of left my mind, but basically what you're saying is, and I think this is important to tie, is there's something even in that feeling, whether you harvest something and you don't, the thankfulness that comes out of the moment when you harvest something. I've gone hunting with a lot of different people, and for some reason, even I've killed a lot of different things. It doesn't matter how small or big, there's something to it that, man, for some reason, it's like when I get touched with the Holy Spirit, it breaks me, I'm crying, I'm like, I get that feeling. When I kill an animal, I literally cry, and there's something about it where I'm giving him the praise and glory. I'm just thankful, knowing that my family is going to have this food and have everything. But that's something I think to be said. And after that, when you experience that, the gratitude you just continue to have for the rest of the portion of your life after it, that is fulfilling right there, man. Whether you kill it or not, there's some gratitude to be said.
I saw a beautiful picture that had 3 words on it. And these 3 words, I want all you listeners to actually understand this. It was framed. It says, gratitude makes, maybe it's 4 words. Gratitude makes everything enough.
I like that.
It's enough. our desire for want and material things and not being satiated with where we are in life, and more, the fire that constantly says, give me more to keep it going. Gratitude and being grateful for where we are, who we're with, what we're doing, the experiences that we get to experience day in and day out, that makes everything enough. And that is where the beauty of life comes in.
Yeah.
And dude, brother, you're a soulful dude. I appreciate this. I didn't exactly know what we were doing on this one as far as I have topics and I know direction of stuff. But I love this. This is what gets me fired up.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling it, man. And you're making me think about some of the things that, I experienced through that, but and that's part of where I need to probably start journaling some of this so I can reflect more on it.
Yeah.
I think, I don't spend enough time in that reflection aspect after I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I think there's more to just the experience of the hunt that I need to go back on, and also making myself better as a hunter, more ethical, all the things, but also just as a person. It's just like anything, I want to tie what I do into my life or into life. So,
well, going all the way back to when we were talking mentorship at the beginning of this episode. So God calls us to love man, or love him and love man. What mentorship is love. That's all it is. It's giving without expecting anything in return. And one of the things I want everyone to understand, especially when it comes, we'll tie it into hunting specifically, is that it doesn't matter how limited your season is or your time off or different things. When you think you don't have anything to give, you always have time. Whether it's a phone call, a text message, an email, like a social media DM, how you doing? Are you preparing for the season? Like mentorship, so many people get caught up in mentorship of hunting as in, I gotta take them to a spot, I gotta, they have to squeeze the trigger, they have to kill the animals.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, slow down. Baby steps, inch by inch is a cinch, mile by mile may take a while, but inch by inch is a cinch. Don't feel like you have to, Office Space, jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
We don't need to jump to conclusions, Matt. Take it slowly. Put some time in. If you truly love what hunting is, the best thing we can do is give it away. Right?
Yeah, and there's something about that, bringing people for their first time to experience it. That's always my favorite. Actually, I think I enjoy that more than even killing something. As long as I can get them out there, getting to see it, getting to hear it out, getting to, see something, and it would feel this is not but if we can make it happen and get them something and experience the trigger and the adrenaline and all the things that come behind it, and then the real work, I think there's something too after that when they do all the work. It's like, man, you understand what we did to get you what you need.
So I had a real strong revelation this year during my hunting season. So on my journey to teach myself how to hunt, I recruited my hunting partner, Tony. And we knew each other. We were both young life leaders, and we snowboarded. So that was like a common bond. I think we played on a flag football team together. And I was like, dude, I want to learn how to hunt. Do you have any interest? He's like, oh yeah, man, I think that would be cool. Sure, why not? And so I sent him a link to Hunter Safety. He did it on his cell phone while he worked at his family's brewery. He's a brewmaster. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm just doing it, knocking it out on my phone in the middle of brewing batches and all this stuff. And so we went on this journey to learn how to hunt. And from that moment, here's another huge aspect is courage. The courage to step into the unknown, the courage to try something new. And being an educator, I know that if someone doesn't find success within that first short little bit, then their chances of returning or continuing on with a skill, a hobby, a passion, a pursuit is going to just drastically fall off a cliff. So here we are going on this journey, and ever since I started hunting, I was always with a hunting partner. Always with a hunting partner. This year was the first year, because I moved to Texas, I hunted alone. And the buck that I shot, which is going to be on an episode of Soul Seekers releasing this spring, I shot this deer all by myself, which for some people isn't that big of a deal, but the realization that, and I'm going to see it through here. I got to point to what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
I shot it by myself. I field dressed it by myself. I butchered it by myself, packaged it, put it in my freezer. I'm the one that cooks wild game in my house, and no other person laid a hand on that animal and that meat until it hit the lips of my family members and my neighbors which I shared that meal with. That by itself, like, words don't really describe the power within that. Like, I'm blown away, really, just like thinking about it. But at the same time, like, the power to feed people, the power to teach a man how to fish rather than just giving him a fish.
For sure. And there's a self-accomplishment, I think, as a man. And I don't, not to tie it into religion or faith, but I feel like there's something that God made powerful there that gives us that confidence as a human being, but as a male, to only know our capabilities that He's given us with, right? And then also the knowledge base to be able to do that, and then go and turn around and teach other people how to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like that is powerful, but also powerful in the sense of knowing where your food sources come from, what you've done and all the work you had to put in to get it here onto the table that day.
Right.
So that's another,
right.
Yeah, those are both, a lot of gratitude throughout that whole process, right?
And it makes it all enough.
It does. and the alone part, man, I look back into my journey with hunting. Yeah, when I was 12 and got my first elk, all the things, man, the experience with my dad, I could not have done it without my dad or family ever in all those, years. It wasn't until I was like kind of 16 that I had that feeling like I want to go by myself and do that. Like it's a man, like I want to prove to you guys I can do that, like by myself. Whether I maybe need your help later to pack it, or get horses ready.
Right.
But I'm gonna have it field dressed and ready for pickup, and we're gonna go. Like I'm gonna get it. Yeah. So having those feelings has been, and from a young man to now, I think there's still that, but also the alone time you get is very valuable. People don't understand when you're alone. Yes, the portion of being still. There's, I think that is where my reflection happens. But maybe I need to be better at drawing it. I'm constantly thinking in that time.
Yeah.
Whether I'm focused on hunting, I'm not focused on hunting at all. Actually, I'm just so excited to be out there because all I'm thinking about is all the things where either I've messed up or I don't know. God's using that time to just circulate these thoughts purposely and help me understand how to be. There's just something about that, and you really can't do that. I notice it when I'm driving alone by myself and I leave the radio off. That is the time that I'm like, turn something on to music. Nope, this is what I need. I know I need it because He's using that time to reflect me a little bit more. So I think that's where I find my reflection. I think that's maybe some people will kind of tie to that as well. But
dude, man,
yeah, we'll have to do another. There's a lot more.
There's part
there's
two.
A lot more. Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah.
So you work at Huxworks.
Yep.
Human mitigation workshop.
Human exposure workshop. There you go.
To mitigate the exposure to the
I mean, a lot of things. Mitigate toxic gas, mitigate TBI, people getting blasted exposure, a lot of different things we mitigate, mitigation recoil. There's a ton, but our goal not is just that. Our goal is creating a solution to find a safer and healthier product. And it just right now happens to be firearm based, and our flagship items happen to be suppressors, and we're known for flow through technology and all the things that we mitigate with flow through and all the added benefits you receive within it, and helping your weapon system, helping the operator. But we continue to develop something that is an overall healthier view of aspect in life into products that we're developing for future. So more to come, but right now a lot of it is totally based between firearms and suppressor products. So
what is it like working for a company within the industry that is, and we're talking not just within hunting and shooting, which hunters and shooters understand that, but working for a company that is so misunderstood in general populace?
It's amazing, actually. One reason I came here was to help Huxworks kind of be grown and seen commercially, and help people be educated in a way that they can understand what our goal is and what the why factor is. So it's amazing, man. Our why factor is incredible. It's finding the solution for everyone to have a safer product. So it's amazing, man. Like, I've been on the other end of things, on the firearm side of stuff, and these things are deadly weapons, regardless of, it's not, I love 2A, everything, but when there's the possibility of getting something in the wrong hands of something, and who knows where that goes, it's all about money driven at certain points. For us, yes, money in business is great. You'll want to be successful and have a scale to scale it, or metric data on it, but it's amazing, man. We have a journey, and we have a fight to what we're doing, and the reason behind what we do is incredible. It's impacting people's lives. Like, we're literally saving people from being exposed, getting cancers. I look at suppressors, or baffle system suppressors, nothing against any competitor. You're exposed to so much. You're breathing in hydrogen cyanide, ammonia, and all these other particulates that come out of it, other horrible chemicals that come out of it, and longevity-wise, I would hate to put myself on a health risk when I love shooting guns. I love all these things. So do a lot of people, but we don't realize when you put on a suppressor, especially baffled, all the stuff that you're doing is increasing yourself to cancer risk and a ton of other disease types of risks that come from it. And if we can help people one by one mitigate that, and not have to worry about losing a portion of their life, and the people in the family that they get to be with, little by little, that is our overall goal for things. So I love being on this side of it.
It's cool.
For me, it's meaningful, and we're passionate about it too. So,
dude, I love that.
Yeah.
well said. Being in a career that directly impacts lives is lost.
It is.
And I shop suppressors, I promote Huxworks because I love it, it's fun and all that. That's really at the back of my mind, this idea of oh yeah, I'm also being healthier because of it.
Right.
It blows my mind. Well, for the sake of time, we're going to wrap this up. We have a lot more to talk about coming soon. So, brother, thank you for your time. Thanks for hosting the Soul Seekers podcast here at SHOT Show, and I really look forward to doing more with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, dude. It's been awesome.
I love it. Well, all you guys, thanks for tuning into this episode. If you were inspired by today's conversation, reach out to Auburn, reach out to us. We'll connect you. Guys, remember, we get to be the change we want to see in the world. And if you want to make this world a better place, it starts with you in every moment. Remember that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure, and that you can never outgive good, as mentorship is conservation. Thanks for tuning into this episode. For Auburn Flores at Huxworks and Johnny Mack here at Soul Seekers, be blessed, freedom on, and as always, stay soulful.